She's calling on him to be a better person. I'm calling on her to recognize him and recognize your value. And if he's not the type of man that you need in your life, then you need to let him go. Let's get it. Now, in a recent tell-all, there was a big, huge conflict between Meri and Suki, where Meri was being questioned by Suki about her knowledge of knowing whether Kody had told her that the relationship was over and her positions on why she stayed in the relationship. Because that's been a big question as to why would Meri keep subjecting herself to the disrespect and humiliation of being involved in a relationship where people don't want you around. When you can honestly say that nobody cares what happens to you or nobody really is looking for you, checking on you, or wants you around, then the question is always, why are you still there? And this is the question that I think Suki was asking because so many audience members really wanted to hear that. Now, before I get into it, I would simply ask that if you guys are enjoying my content, you go ahead and give me that thumbs up. Let a brother know that you're enjoying what I'm doing. Also, leave a comment down below if you think I can improve. If you're not yet subscribed and there's something I'm doing wrong, let me know. Also, if you're not yet subscribed and you want to subscribe, what are you waiting for? Now is the time to do it. It's not a big click to you, but it's a huge click to me. It helps the channel out, helps me out. Hey, who doesn't want to help a brother out? That's why we call it the HBO special. So go ahead and give me that HBO special by ringing the bell for notifications and make sure you hit that subscribe button. All right, and you'll be notified when I upload content just like this, as well as when I go live. Speaking of live, I have two big events happening this weekend. I am doing the after show party where we talk about what we just saw, because you know we got to decompress after we watch this foolishness. The second part is on Monday, I'll be appearing with the Sister Lives with Reality Squad Sarah Howe, as well as Amanda from Reality Amanda. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be awesome. I'm looking very much forward to it. I hope you guys can join for both events. All right, let's get it. We're going to talk about this craziness. Now, like I said, I was watching a tell-all, there was that point where you just sit there listening to Meri telling you stories about how she never knew and how she was so committed to the relationship and constantly trying to tell her side of the story. And I get that. And I think that that's important because, again, I understand them trying to revitalize their images and trying to rehabilitate themselves so that way the public likes them and adores them and everything, because everybody likes to be liked. Nobody wants to get that negative response in the comment section where they say that you suck. Nobody wants that. I get it. I get it too. So I understand what you're saying. I get where you're coming from, Meri. You know, obviously you're getting probably much longer than I have, but I'm just saying I get it. So with that being said, some of the big questions that Suki had that I guess the audience really wanted to know is, Meri, did Kody tell you? When did he tell you? And when he told you and you found out, why haven't you left? Now, in this first clip that I want to show Meri talking about being told and her response to how she found out or whether she was told or not. Let's take a listen.
You needed to hear it from him. You did not want to infer it from all the other instances that have happened.
I was not going to guess. I was not going to assume. I deserve to have a conversation and to be told. And if he wasn't the kind of man to do that, he should have been the kind of man to do that. To have the conversation with me and be open and honest with me instead of telling everybody else but me. That wasn't cool.
That wasn't cool. And in a perfect, ideal world, he would have come to her and he would have told her, hey, Meri, this relationship isn't working out. I don't ever see myself coming back with you. I don't ever see me coming back to you. You're not what I want. I don't like you. I don't want you, etc., etc., etc. Hurt feeling, you know, and brutality, basically. Here's the thing. There's a couple points that I want to make with regard to this. The first thing is that Meri, and this is what bothers me about this type of thing, you have to pay attention for yourself what is going on in your relationship. And you also have to earmark what's happening with your partner. And this is you knowing your partner. So you're paying attention to your relationship and it's moving away. You know, this marriage was moving along, at least how we see it from the TLC propaganda, polygamy propaganda program. When I watch this situation, Kody has been intimating that he doesn't want to be in this relationship with Meri. He's been treating her shabbily. He hasn't been coming around. There was the whole incident where he melted the ring down, which would have, for me, that would have been a big deal if you melt down a piece of jewelry that I give you, sentimental jewelry, especially if it's something as symbolic as a wedding band. And you take it to the jeweler, and based on their financial position at the time, and I've said this, even back as far as the Sunday Night Live, all the way through, and well, even beforehand, when I saw the trailer and heard the news that this was going to be an issue on the tell-all, if you were poor people and he went out and got the ring, say he got the ring from Walmart, or he really blew the bank book and went down to Zales and got you the ring, and went to K, every kiss begins with K. He went down there and he got the K ring and he came up to you. It's more likely that he spent more money having that ring melted down than he did paying for the ring initially. That's the craziest thing to me. So even in that regard, usually I'm used to people saying that, I'll get rid of this ring. I'll give you the ring back. I don't want nothing to do with you. I don't want you to have a claim on me. If somebody says that they don't want you to have a claim on me, what that's intimating is, it's not that I don't want you to think that you have more ownership than somebody else. What you're saying is, I don't want you to have any ownership at all. If you're with a man and he says, I don't want you to have a claim on me, that means that if that man is standing in that, office party or that work party or in the club or a party at the supermarket, and he's talking to a young lady, you keep it pushing if he's having a conversation and look like he's making time. Because if you come up, he's going to introduce you as his friend, associate, or somebody he know. Oh, this is Barbara. She ain't nobody. Anyway, back to what we was talking about. So that whole, I don't want you to have a claim on me, is more significant than anybody is really even touching on. First thing. Second thing, how much did you know? When did you know it? If he is giving you these types of vibes and you go to him and you try to talk to him about what is happening in your relationship and he doesn't want to address any of those issues, you have your answer. You have your answer. It shouldn't require him to come back. And this is the part that bothers me with the whole idea of closure, because so many people seek that closure. They want that pop psychology term of closure, not the creator, but just the term pop psychology. They want the pop psychology term of, hey, we gotta have closure. I want him to come and tell me why he doesn't want me and why things aren't going to work out, and I want him to express himself and tell me that the relationship isn't working and da-da-da. I'm due that, I'm owed that. Look, you should get that, but he very well may never, or she very well may never come to you and give you the closure that you want. Oftentimes when people talk about closure, what they really want is they want this man or this woman or this person to come to them and say, look, I really messed up. It's all my fault. I'm inadequate. You're so powerful, so great, so wonderful, and I'm so insecure, I can't deal with your greatness, so I'm going to have to terminate the relationship because I'm a fool and I don't know what I want out of life, and I'm going to go ruin myself with somebody else. You may go, your majesty. Like, that's what people want as far as closure. I'm kind of blowing it to the extreme, but that's essentially what it is. You want to hear the good things. You want to hear, like, the finality of somebody coming to you and saying, blah, 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 blah. But what it comes down to is, that's merely an opportunity for that other person to be cruel to you. It's almost like you're subjecting yourself to this cruelty so that you can close the book on it. You need them to do something to you that's so horrendous, so heinous, that you can say, finally, I'm no longer going to deal with that person because of the way they treated me. And that's what I see a lot of times when people talk about closure. That's what they're looking for. When Meri's talking about closure, that's what she's looking for. There's been time and time again where I can point to certain situations and circumstances or conversations that they've had throughout the seasons of the show. This should have been a deal breaker. It should have been, you can go ahead and pack the wagon up because we out of here. You know what I mean? They've had those types of moments. So it's not realistic to think that Kody was supposed to come to her expressly and say, look, Blah, 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 blah. If he wasn't the kind of man, she said that I think that he should have been the kind of man to come forward and be honest with me and tell me about what's going on with him and be communicative of what was happening. If he was that type of man, then there's a possibility that your relationship wouldn't have been ending in the first place. Holla at your boy. If he was the type of man who was a stand-up dude and he could come forward and tell you what his issues, problems, and concerns were from the beginning, then there's a possibility that you could have worked through those issues, problems, and concerns prior to any talk of a breakup or feeling that you need to separate from that person. If he's not that guy, you can't make him that guy because you want him to be that guy or you demand for him to be that guy. And this kind of flows into the idea that you want to know yourself and be honest with yourself. If you know who you are, you know what you want out of life, you know what your goals, your hopes, your dreams are, and the things you want to get out of not only out of your life, but out of relationships and your associations, and you recognize that and you're honest about your failings, your shortcomings, not just the things that make you great, but the things that are compatible to you, but the things that are maybe not the greatest things or the best looks or things you need to work on. If you're honest about those things with yourself, brutally honest, then that gives you the freedom and opportunity to be honest with other people. And you can call them out for their bull stuff. You can say, look, you're not doing da 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 da. You're not meeting this expectation. You're not meeting this metric or whatever the thing is that you have, the standard that you have. If they're not meeting those things, then you can be honest with yourself. You can be honest about the status of your relationship. You're a good person. I'm a good person, but this relationship isn't working out. I'm not getting the things I need from this relationship. And you can have that conversation with yourself first because you understand it. And then you can go and express it to that other person. That communication actually works both ways. But you have to know what the things that you want. You can't rely on somebody else to tell you. And don't put yourself in a situation where you're in relationships at somebody else's desires and at the will of somebody else. You serve at the will and whim of the person that you're with. Because then you're not a partner, you're an employee. If they can come in and fire you whenever they want, which, I mean, technically in partnerships, you can dissolve the partnership. Either partner can dissolve the partnership. But if one person is saying that I'm here until you let me go, then you're abdicating all your responsibility and all your power to another person, and that person decides what happens. So therefore, that person is now your boss. That's what they call that. That person is your boss. And if that person is deciding for you when the relationship is over and when it's going to happen, when it's not going to happen, whether we stay together, we don't stay together, no matter what they do, no matter what their conduct is, then that puts you at a deficit. I do appreciate that during the tell-all, Suki was giving some good pushback. So when she wasn't just doing like she was doing in previous tell-alls where they just come out and say some old foolishness and she just, oh, okay, yeah, I mean, that sounds good. I guess that works. She actually was asking the follow-up questions, and I do appreciate the attempts that she was putting in to actually ask those follow-up questions, which actually made these tell-alls, to be honest with you, as an aside, made these tell-alls more palatable and watchable. Like, you could actually sit there and watch them as opposed to just sitting there and be like, what the hell? You just gonna let that ride? Are you serious? So I appreciate that. But this is what Suki did when she got that ridiculous answer from Meri.
Don't you think he's been telling you all along?
It was a really low, uncool way to do it, if that's what he was doing.
I'm just saying, through his actions,
Yes.
there's been a lot of
Yes.
inaction.
Yes, I agree with you, and yes, I do feel like that. But because of the commitment that I hold dear, he didn't hold dear.
And that's kind of the thing. Like, I appreciate the pushback, like I said. And one of the challenges is, like, okay, fine. He never came right out and told you, like, this is what it is or whatever. We're not going to be together. I've never gave you that commitment. The covenant that we had. Right? Maybe he never came out and said all that, right? But he did stop coming to your house. He did quintessentially abandon you. So therefore, whether he came through and he gave you through the direct, purposeful action of saying that the relationship is over, or he just stopped coming around. Look, if you work a job and you've had this job, they were married, I think, for 30 years, you have a job for 30 years. and then one day you stop showing up to that job. The employer isn't going to wait for you to come back and say, oh, I found something else. I no longer want to do this. The second day you stop coming, or the third day you stop showing up, 3 no call, no shows, or whatever the case may be, absence without reason or whatever, absence without cause, they fire you. You are fired. You don't work there anymore. And if as far as they're concerned, you quit. You quit the relationship if you stop showing up for the relationship. Relationships require activity. They require participation. Relationships are not a spectator sport. You can't sit in the bleachers and watch your relationship work. You have to be in there. You have to work your relationship. You have to participate in your relationship. You have to fight shoulder to shoulder to keep this relationship afloat. Because if you don't, and only one person is doing it, the relationship will always fail. It will always fail because one person doesn't have the capacity to love you enough or love themselves enough for the other person. Meri can't love herself enough to overshoot or forgive or give a pass to Kody not caring about her. And they keep their relationship going. If Kody doesn't want to be in it, Kody has every right to not be in this relationship. Then Meri brought up this whole concept of commitment and value and holding value in a relationship because of her values. Let's explore that for a moment.
I've been patient because my values and my heart and my commitment are as such that I hold to those. Those are important to me. Mm-hmm. And that's why I was still holding on, not knowing that he had, guessing, but hoping that he hadn't really, but not knowing that he had actually fully let go of me emotionally.
And at that point, that's where it kind of falls on Meri. And it is hard to say that. That's a hard thing to say. It's a hard pill to swallow. But if your values and your commitment is so strong to him that you allow him to treat you that way, allow him to be absent, allow him to not participate in your relationship, allow him to abandon you for 15 years, or I'm sorry, yeah, I guess it was about 15 years now, for all close to 15, that he's been with Robin. And he hasn't really been with you or participated with you the entire time he's been with Robin, and maybe slightly before, because you guys were having problems before he even met Robin. Before he met Robin. If that's the case, then whose fault is it? Now, I don't really like to assign blame as much, but are you doing this to you, or is he doing this to you? Is he dragging you through this, or are you dragging yourself because you won't let go? Look, if you grab on the back of a truck, like Kody has them little trucks or them little ATVs, he like riding around trying to look cool on with his little sunglasses. If he get on the back of one of them ATVs and he's riding around Coyote Pass, if you run out there and try to jump on the back of that ATV and you don't quite make it and you're holding on and the ATV is dragging you through Coyote Poop and the pond poop and all that other stuff out there on Coyote Pass, yes, Kody is wrong because he never stopped. And he never checked on you to make sure that you were okay. But then at the same time, you were the one who was holding on. You never let go. And this is also where part of the conflict for a lot of the viewers comes in, because she says values and my principles and things I hold near and dear, my commitment, etc., etc. For somebody like me, I would say that my value of myself starts with me. My value starts with me. My value. I value myself and I value my time. I think that I am valuable. I think that I can contribute to a relationship. I think that when I'm in, whether it's a friendship, business relationship, whatever, I want to contribute. And if my contribution is not recognized nor valued by the other person, then there's no point in me continuing with the commitment, no matter whether I made it or not. I'm going to just see my commitment through. I'll do what's necessary in order for me to get through the task at hand. But once that's complete, I'm done. And if it's an ongoing task, then we have to create a break in this partnership. If I'm committed to the relationship and I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, and you're doing nothing to help with the commitment or help with the relationship or help with the partnership, then there's no point in me continuing to value or hold value to that commitment. because you don't hold value to that commitment. The commitment to Kody didn't mean anything. When you start talking about like the commitment and the covenant and all that stuff, there's something that Christine actually brought up that I thought was interesting when she was talking about the covenant between Kody and Robin on Coyote Pass. Let's take a listen.
Robin there. What's up with that conversation where Kody promised Robin something? Would leave, yet he's been considering Meri pathetic for years and letting her hang on?
See, and here's the one point that I wanted to make when it came to Christine talking about this issue. It kind of is weird to me a little bit, and I'm going to say something that may be a little racy or some people might not like, but it's the truth. Christine says it as though this was a Meri problem. This wasn't a Meri problem. This was a Christine, Meri, and Janelle problem. When Kody sat there and made that commitment or that covenant with Robin that he wouldn't leave her in a pathetic place if he didn't like her, love her, or care for her anymore, he wouldn't just have her hanging around. He wasn't just talking about Meri. He was talking about all of you. He was talking about all of you. He thought all of you were in a pathetic place. That's why he wasn't, as committed to you guys as he was to Robin. As far as he was concerned, Robin was the focus of it. You could make the argument that, well, we didn't really have problems until much later. Was he still hanging out with you? I mean, hell, Christine, he got up and left you full pregnant and drove 5 hours away to go sit in another woman's house. He sat there on your bed and cried about another woman. That's to him that he looked down on that situation. Janelle, the same thing. Like, we don't really talk about Janelle in that form or that fashion because she seemed a little more stoic and seemed a little more separated and didn't seem as emotionally needy as the rest of the women. But when push comes down to shove, it's not necessarily your perspective of the relationship that he would have been talking to Robin about. It would have been his perspective and how he translated and saw the relationship that he had with you. He thought that when he met Robin, she was the bee's knees. She was the perfect woman. She was ideally what a woman should be and how a wife should be. And that's why he was so desperate to be around her all the time. So I'm looking at it from the perspective that he would have brought. And I add the speculation, and this is my speculation. This is my position. When men who are in relationships, and it's women too, but when people are in relationships and they step out of that relationship, they break that bond, whatever reason, even with permission in Kody's case, I can see a scenario where you're trying to sweet talk this new lady, you're trying to sweet talk this new person, and you give them the justification for coming in and disrupting your family by saying, yeah, but I'm not really close to them. I don't really have a strong tie with them. I'm not as close to them as I am to you. I haven't been with this person emotionally, physically, sexually, etc., for so many months, so many years. It's not really like we have that type of relationship. We don't even really have much of a marriage. It's more of a friendship. It's more of a partnership. It's more of a business arrangement. This is the type of relationship that we have. And it's not that way between you and I. You give me something different. You're actually saving me. You're helping me because you're giving me respite. You're giving me vacation. You're giving me a break from the doldrums of dealing with these types of relationships that I'm not really allowed to be myself. With you, I can be me. So you're actually doing me a service. And this gives women like Robin, the mistress or the woman on the side or the person coming into that relationship, it gives them the justification for them being there. It gives them the excuse because they're no longer in a position where they're breaking up a family, where they're wrecking a family, they're wrecking homes. And so I can see that being a conversation that he's having with Robin as he's sitting there trying to schmooze her and sweet talk her and talk about how different their relationship is to the other OG3 wives. And this doesn't matter. See, and the funny thing is that some people will get down in the comment section like, no, James, you wrong because he was close to them and he was having a relationship. It doesn't matter whether he was having a good relationship with them or not. A lot of these guys who are telling these mistresses and these other women and their prospects and the women that they're trying to talk to, and tell them like, oh, I've never been with this woman. We basically roommates. We just basically bought a house and our relationship ain't working. They'll have newborn babies in the house. Talk about I ain't been with her in years. That baby is like 2 months old. Fresh out the hospital. Still got the new baby smell the whole nine. Right? Anybody ever smell a newborn baby? It's, the very unique smell. The newborn baby smell. Still got it. And they'll still be sitting there talking about, oh, I ain't been with her in years. Yeah, right. I'm not happy with her. You see them on their anniversary, they look like they newlyweds. But when they talking to that mistress or that woman at the bar, the club, or at the supermarket, wherever, the mall, wherever they go, people even meet at the mall anymore. When people go out and meet, when they do that, and they swiping on Tinder, they communicating online, that relationship isn't strong. And that's what they say. So there is a point where Meri actually comes out and she starts to address the whole idea of the covenant and what the covenant meant. Let's take a listen to what Meri has to say about this covenant.
He's sitting here telling Robin, that's the agreement that you and I made, that if I ever felt like that, then I wouldn't hold you in this place. Have the respect for me as a human being to tell me to my face. And he didn't.
Have the respect for me as a human being to tell me to my face. And he didn't. In other words, respect me. Here's the thing. You have to respect yourself. You have to hold yourself to a certain standard for other people to respect you. Now, ideally, people should respect you whether you respect yourself or not. But that is more ingrained in the person that you're dealing with. And again, this goes back to he should have been the type of man. If he's the type of man to respect you regardless of how you treat yourself or how you present yourself, then that's ingrained in him and he would have shown you that respect. There are some people who walk around this earth who need to be instructed how to treat you. They will treat you how you allow them to treat you. So if you allow them to talk to you crazy, put their hands on you, get wild, get crunk, get wild, freaky deaky, whatever the case may be, they get to call you at 3 o'clock in the morning, you pick the phone up, then they will continue to do that. Now, I don't want anybody jumping into things saying, oh, you said you allowed somebody to do that. No. When somebody do something to you the first time, that's you. They did it to you, whatever the case may be. They tried it. But it's what your response to their try is that determines their outcome and their behavior from that point. Some of this stuff you can nip in the bud, not all the time. Like you have some maniacs who'll just do whatever they do. But some things you can nip in the bud. A guy start talking to you wild and he start talking to you out of sorts, calling you out of your name, nip that shit in the bud right off the rip. Stop that. You're not going to talk crazy to me. You're not going to say wild things to me. You're not going to make me feel a certain kind of way. I have value. I know my value and you will respect me. If you can't respect me, then you don't need to be with me. If you can't treat me how I know I need to be treated, you can't handle me the way I need to be handled, then you need to go find somebody who is more suited to the type of character and conduct for which you are ready to pursue. That's what you need to do for you. But I'm going to do what I need to do for me. She's calling on him to be a better person. I'm calling on her to recognize him and recognize your value. And if he's not the type of man that you need in your life, then you need to let him go. If he's not what you want, then you need to let it go. As people get older, now I understand the argument that, they've been together for 30 years and they've been together for a long time. They have kids together, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. People change, situations change. And you have to deal with the situation that you have, not the situation you want. You have to deal with the situation as it lays today, not the way it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago when you first got together. Hell, 30 years ago, they lived in they didn't have a home. They lived in they were renting places. They lived in trailers and stuff. Now they live in $1 million homes apiece. Their situation is different. They're different people. And you have to deal with the person who's standing in front of you, not the person who you remember from years ago. And that's kind of where I find that at. So finally, we have to address what Kody would say as far as the commitment and his commitment and the covenant that he made to Meri. Let's take a listen.
I don't care about the covenant. If you can't get through that, then it's broken. It's about this relationship cannot work. And those people who are in relationships that cannot work, that are stuck in them because of their faith, their religion, end up in a life of unhappy solitude. while a person is right next to them.
You know, the most ironic part of that, where he's, super defiant about the covenants. I don't care about no dang on covenants. Because so many people are being crippled and held back by their religion and held into relationships where they just have solitude and they're by themselves next to somebody else who doesn't care about them. I appreciate the fact that Kody recognizes that, and I applaud him because he recognizes the ridiculousness of you conducting yourself that way and subjecting yourself to this type of relationship. However, it's funny to me that a season ago, you did the exact same thing to Christine when she tried to leave. You tried to use your religion as a means to hold her into the relationship, a place where she was sitting in lonely solitude, or however he phrased it. She was by herself. She was abandoned by you and sitting there by herself, forsaken by you and by some members of the family, and expected to sit there and live alone because of religious dogma or some commitment or some covenant that you made. You were expecting her to do that, but when it came time for you to do that, now all of a sudden, no, we don't do that. That's inappropriate. And this is where I say that you have to recognize the truth in yourself and the truth in the people that you're dealing with. If you're dealing with somebody who is consistent about their morality, consistent about their values, consistent about their principles, then you can deal with them honestly and openly. You can deal with them based on the things that they say and how they conduct themselves. However, if you're dealing with somebody who is hypocritical or somebody who is inconsistent in their values and in their principles, you have to take that into account. I see that in Kody as I'm watching him now. So therefore, when you're talking about you're staying true to your commitment and your values to him because you made a covenant with him and you made a commitment to him, what value does your commitment have if you're the only person who holds value in that commitment? If it's a partnership and one of the partners doesn't value the commitment, there is no commitment. There is no covenant. If you're the one who's doing everything that you're supposed to be doing, and this person is doing none of that, and not only are they not doing none of that, because there can be many reasons why you're not living up to your end of the bargain. But if they're knowingly deciding that they're not going to adhere to any of that, then you have to make decisions based on their decision. You have to make choices based on their choice. Now, finally, I wanted to pull this last little clip from Kody, and we'll talk about another. And I think it's kind of interesting. Let's take a listen.
I'm not going to discuss it further because I love her. I want her to have the best life she can. And I'm not going to do what's been done to me by trash talking her, making her seem small so that I feel better about it.
Why is she in Arizona no more? She should leave. I don't know what she's even doing here. She don't belong in the family. I don't consider myself married to her. You've been running her in the ground for years. But now all of a sudden, because you getting a little bit of that back, you getting some of that same energy you put out back, you can't handle it. And now you're trying to make a principled stance on we shouldn't be talking bad about each other behind each other's back on these couches. You're a fool. You don't get the like he's that bully in high school, or not even high school, like he's that bully in like kindergarten that wants to assault people, and then as soon as the kid stands up to go get him back, now all of a sudden, no, we can't be putting our hands on each other. We can't tease each other and make each other feel bad. It's not right. He hurt my feelings. Kody is such a ridiculous person. And again, this goes back to what I was saying before. You can't have value in relationships and hold principles and take the word of somebody who is dishonest and doesn't hold value in that relationship. He doesn't hold value in that relationship. He sits there and talks about how much he loves you and cares about you and how he don't want to talk about it anymore because he don't want to run you down. Even now, during the tell-all, he's using his love as a sword against somebody else. He's not trying to use it as a shield to protect Meri, her virtue, and her character, and his relationship with her. He's using it as a sword to try to lash out against one of the other people that he was in a relationship with. This shows the petty nature and the immaturity that Kody operates from. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Do I have it right? Do I have it wrong? Do I go too far? Let me know what you guys think. This is My Take. I'm James. This has been My Take on Reality. And I'm out. 'Cause I've been living life right like I